Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the fearless leader of Burkina Faso, has just sent shockwaves across Africa with a bombshell and unfiltered speech. With a boldness that has shocked the world, Traoré has declared himself a leader unlike any other, unafraid to speak truth to power, even in the face of assassination attempts and global scrutiny. His recent speech, delivered just 3 days ago to teachers and youth in Burkina Faso, wasn't just a call to action. It was a bombshell that exposed the West's cultural and psychological stranglehold on Africa's youth through social media and imperialist agendas. Traoré's unapologetic stance, coupled with his radical actions, from expelling French troops to banning colonial wigs and Western suits, marks him as a master of his domain, a leader who refuses to let Burkina Faso's soul be auctioned off to foreign powers. 3 days ago, Captain Ibrahim Traoré stood before an audience of teachers and young people in Burkina Faso and delivered a speech that will be remembered as a defining moment in the nation's history. With the conviction of a father and the clarity of a revolutionary, he declared, "There are things that people may say that are not addressed, but I told you I am not a head of state like the others. If someone thinks it is a taboo subject, there is no taboo subject with me. As long as it will negatively impact my youth, I will discuss it with you and tell you what I think." Pause and reflect on the audacity of these words. Here is a head of state, in a world where leaders often hide behind polished speeches and diplomatic niceties, speaking with raw, unfiltered honesty. Traoré's declaration wasn't just a rejection of political norms. It was a direct challenge to the forces that seek to keep Africa's youth distracted, disempowered, and disconnected from their roots. His speech zeroed in on the pervasive influence of social media, a tool he sees as a weapon of cultural imperialism. Concentrate, pursue your studies, do not let yourself be distracted, he urged the youth. And generally our young girls, excuse me, you are already beautiful. You are the most beautiful. You don't need to expose yourself on social media. Stop that, we must focus on the essential. These words, delivered with the warmth and authority of a father addressing his children, struck a deep chord. Traoré wasn't just critiquing social media trends. He was reaffirming the inherent worth of Burkina Faso's youth, particularly its young women, who are bombarded with westernized standards of beauty that demand conformity over authenticity. He went further, exposing the dangerous allure of viral content that prioritizes sensationalism over substance. There are people who spend their time raising awareness so that people wake up and make the world understand. These people are not very followed, he said. And there are people who spend their time showing everything that is scientific on social media. These people are not very followed. It is those who create content with girls who show themselves on social media. That's what interests us. Young people, you have to be careful. If you are interested in these things, your neurons shut down. You can no longer think, and it is dangerous for you. Traoré's words were a wake-up call, not just for Burkina Faso, but for all of Africa, where social media algorithms often amplify content that undermines cultural pride and intellectual growth, keeping young minds trapped in a cycle of distraction. This speech wasn't a one-off. It was the latest chapter in Traoré's relentless campaign to protect Burkina Faso's youth, whom he views as the nation's greatest asset. His fatherly tone, his refusal to shy away from tough topics, and his insistence on addressing the youth as equals have touched the hearts of millions, resonating far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Traoré's recent speech builds on a bold initiative launched in 2024, when his government passed a groundbreaking law to combat indecent content on social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. This legislation, aimed at preserving Burkina Faso's traditional and cultural values, imposes severe penalties, up to 2 years in prison and fines of up to 3 million CFA francs, for influencers posting suggestive or obscene content. The law was a direct response to what Traoré and his administration see as a deliberate erosion of moral and cultural values, driven by Western-influenced media that glorifies superficiality and objectification over substance and self-respect. The 2024 law sent shockwaves through Burkina Faso's digital landscape, targeting influencers who thrive on provocative content that Traoré believes distracts young people from their goals and degrades the nation's cultural fabric. But laws alone can't change a culture, especially when today's youth are digital geniuses, adept at navigating platforms and evading restrictions. Recognizing this, Traoré has taken even more drastic measures. Reports have emerged of authorities publicly burning adult content deemed harmful to societal values, a symbolic act that underscores his determination to shield the youth from what he sees as a calculated imperialist strategy to keep Africans mentally enslaved. These bonfires, held in public squares, have sparked both admiration and debate, with supporters praising Traoré's commitment to cultural purity and critics questioning the approach's feasibility in a digital age. Traoré's focus on social media is about more than morality, it's about reclaiming African agency. He understands that the algorithms driving these platforms are designed to prioritize content that undermines African pride, pushing Eurocentric ideals of beauty, success, and individualism. By calling out this dynamic and urging young Burkinabe to reject the trap of seeking validation through likes and views, Traoré is fighting for their minds, their futures, and their ability to define themselves on their own terms. Since seizing power in a September 30th, 2022 coup, Captain Ibrahim Traoré has wasted no time dismantling the structures of colonialism that have long held Burkina Faso in a chokehold. His actions are not mere gestures, but a comprehensive assault on the legacy of Western domination, from language to attire to foreign military presence. Traoré's revolution is multifaceted, rooted in a deep understanding of how imperialism operates, not just through economic exploitation, but through cultural and psychological warfare. One of Traoré's most seismic moves was expelling French troops and diplomats from Burkina Faso in 2023. For decades, France maintained a neo-colonial grip on its former colony through military bases, economic agreements, and covert influence that prioritized French interests over Burkinabe sovereignty. Traoré's decision to kick out French forces was a direct rebuke of the Françafrique system, which he accused of exploiting Burkina Faso's vast gold and mineral wealth while fueling instability through alleged support for jihadist insurgents. "We are victims of our wealth which the imperialists want to take back at any cost in order to keep us in slavery," he declared at a 2024 summit of the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, a regional bloc he co-founded with Mali and Niger to counter Western hegemony. The expulsion of French troops wasn't just a military maneuver, it was a declaration of independence that reverberated across Africa. Traoré pivoted toward partnerships with Russia, welcoming Russian military advisors and Wagner-linked forces to bolster Burkina Faso's fight against jihadist insurgents in the Sahel. His visit to Moscow in May 2025, where he was honored with a state aircraft and fighter jet escort, symbolized a new era of South-South cooperation free from the condescension of Western powers. This shift has not been without risks. Traoré has survived multiple coup attempts, including one in April 2025 allegedly backed by Côte d'Ivoire and Western interests, but his resolve remains unshaken. France's expulsion was accompanied by the termination of colonial-era agreements that gave French companies preferential access to Burkina Faso's resources. Traoré's government has demanded transparency and equity in all foreign partnerships, ensuring that Burkina Faso's wealth benefits its people first. This bold stance has inspired other African nations to question their own ties with former colonial powers, making Traoré a symbol of resistance against neo-colonialism. In a move that strikes at the heart of colonial identity, Traoré's government has begun phasing out French as Burkina Faso's official language, a relic of French colonial rule. French, imposed during the colonial era, has long been a symbol of cultural domination, alienating many Burkinabe who speak indigenous languages like Moré, Dioula or Fulfulde. Traoré has pushed for the elevation of these local languages in official settings, education and media, aiming to restore pride in Burkina Faso's linguistic diversity. This transition, announced in 2023 and gaining momentum in 2025, is a monumental step toward mental decolonization. The shift to local languages is not without challenges. Developing educational materials, training teachers, and standardizing scripts for languages with oral traditions require significant investment and time. Yet Traoré's commitment is unwavering. He envisioned